This is Gib Bulloch. I hope I pronounce his name very well. I'm really happy to see him because I think that this man changed the life of millions of people. How he's doing it? By making huge corporations and big businesses think about how small change can make a big change. Once he asked the question about Coca-Cola and how many liters you need to use to make one bottle of Coca-Cola. And 3 days after his question, I was thinking about that. So he's good in asking tricky questions. Happy to see you.
Nice to see you as well, Olga. Pleasure to be here.
Nice to see you. Dear Gib, my first question to you is about Coca-Cola, since I mentioned that. When you were giving speech for Google audience, because you're giving thousands and millions of speeches for huge corporations, you are so good in that. You said a shocking thing that to make 1 liter, 1 bottle of Coca-Cola, how many liters of fresh water we should use? And the answers were shocking. It's something like 250 or something. So you think that huge corporations, they are sometimes harmful to us as a nature, as environment, or it's not so and we can change that?
Well, my point in that example, it's a trivial example. I've nothing against Coca-Cola. My point is that if you want to drive change in and impact the environment, impact society in some way, then small change in the large supertanker organizations like a Coca-Cola, if you care about fresh water or usage of fresh water, then yes, there is 250 litres. Most of it is used to grow sugar, actually, to make the Coke sweet. But I use the example of the likes of Nestle. Nestle touch 1.5 billion people every single day with their products. Now, whether you like their products or don't like their products, if you care about nutrition, if you care about plastic in the oceans, if you care about all of these things, then surely give me 1 degree of a shift in a Nestle or a Coca-Cola or an Accenture where I used to work versus maybe a small startup. Small startups are really attractive and cool and sexy, especially if they're social enterprises. That's the sort of in vogue thing, but they don't tend to get to the scale. So my point is, if we want to have scale of impact, let's start with scale. Let's start with scale and then shift it.
I see, of course, definitely. If you work with a monster, with a dinosaur, it's much effective to change the world working with dinosaur than working with the mouse. Just because the mouse is too small and dinosaur is too massive. That is absolutely right. One of the reasons why I'm doing movies, because let's say if the audience is 100 million people, and I think that I can touch their hearts, it's much more effective than if you talk with 10 friends in the house. Only because it's too small. You like, I understand that you like give scale and big quantity. My
to use your mouse analogy, though, it's interesting, the mouse and the dinosaur. What I was trying to do within Accenture as an intrapreneur, so an entrepreneur within Accenture, was to be, I was the size of a mouse. I was tiny, but mice can scare dinosaurs or can scare elephants or whatever, and you get big, you get big impact. So the idea is, how do you release, the mice inside these organizations, the things that are going to actually make the big organization jump up, whether it's a dinosaur or an elephant or something. So I think there is something in that. That's what I was trying to do, rather than leaving the organization as and starting something up on the outside.
What happened in year 2000 in Macedonia, in Balkans? Why you, being very successful person in corporate world, in a very stable, with very stable salary, what's happened? Why you decided to change the world?
Why did I decide to change the world? Well, it wasn't a decision to try and change the world. I had done what I was told would make me successful and wealthy. I had left Scotland, where you can probably tell my accent is from. I was in London in the late 90s.
No. Your accent is amazing. I think that for the last 10 years, your accent changed a lot, by the way, because your TEDx, which was 8 years ago, your Scottish accent was stronger, isn't it?
I'm trying to speak as clearly as possible because I understand that many of your listeners might not be native English speakers. So, and I don't think this thing can have subtitles at the moment. Not, the technology is good, but it's not that good. So, my point being that I was happy. I was earning enough money. I was in the late 90s, but I was looking for something a bit more purposeful, a bit more meaningful, rather than just make money for myself or for the company. And then I followed an advert that was looking for people to volunteer in a developing country. I found myself in Macedonia, Northern Macedonia, as it's now called, and I was on a 90 something percent salary reduction, and I was more motivated helping develop small businesses in that country, helping them get access to credit, helping train women entrepreneurs. It was really, really motivating. So that was my wake up call. That was I guess it was a drug called purpose. And people I know, this is 20 years ago. Nowadays, my sense is that people, whether they're in a small business or whether they're in a big business, they are looking for having a role that is about more than just making money. It's about making a difference and having an impact. And the companies, I think, that can offer that to their employees are the ones that are going to win here.
Tell me, please, our company is not that huge, not that big, but it's not small also. It's 2,000 people because we are distributors of Reno in Kazakhstan. Do you think what we can do, and it's very different people from sales who sell the cars, from marketing, from bookkeepers, so it's very different. So it's like completely different education, completely different background, a lot of experts who come from other. How to motivate them to work together, and what kind of difference? Okay, maybe Coca-Cola, they can stop using that much liters of fresh water, but how we can, what we can do?
I don't know enough about your organization to tell you what you should do. But what I do firmly believe is that the answer to that question lies in the heads of the people within the organization, probably more likely further down the organization than the bosses. Okay. So my point is that we used to see innovation as a few people in the innovation department, or corporate responsibilities, a few people, 5 people off to the side, and everyone else just did the business of business. I think we need to almost bring democracy into the corporations and empower and inspire the people in your organization and many others, that they can be change makers, that they have the best ideas in their heads. The problem is, at the moment, they're probably just too busy, heads down, working 50, 60, 70 hours a week. How can you possibly be innovative and come up with a creative idea when you've been working 70 hours a week? So what I'm really focused on now is trying to look at how we can create the spaces for people and their ideas to flourish within business. And so my point being, ask your people, empower your people, and they will come up with the best ideas.
That is smart. All the questions, all the answers will come from the people, not from us, who will know better than them, and we should empower them
Well,
by
certainly I
asking
won't.
questions.
You might, but I don't know your organization. I can't
Yes,
pretend.
yes, I absolutely agree with you. Tell me, please, what is possible to do? You write a lot and you talk a lot about mental health at work. Normally, work is, for many people, is not happy or healthy mental health, because there are a lot of intrigues. There's, especially in the COVID times, people are very depressed. They listen to news. There are a lot of lockdowns. Even, I don't know, in Russia and Kazakhstan, a lot of people are separated by what kind of injections they did. Somebody who made Chinese Sinopharm is not a friend of somebody who is doing Pfizer. So it's very strange how people are separated by the name of injection on something. How, in this difficult environment, when it's very turbulent, how to make a nice and beautiful place with mental health?
Well, I mean, I would ask you. You say businesses are unhappy places and people are, yeah, not happy or inspired there. I don't think we should accept that. I don't accept that. I want to, work is such a big part of our lives. The amount of time we're meant to be spent working. It would be great, especially in a kind of professional role, if we could be doing something that we love and something that we like. and in a environment that is conducive to us being on our best day every day. The reason I got interested in mental health, I thought I was bulletproof. I was loving what I was doing. I was earning enough money, and bang, 2014, almost to the day 7 years ago, I found myself having a burnout and ending up in hospital. I didn't see it coming, but I was working really hard, and you know, uh, it came as a surprise. So what I'm now very interested in is how we can actually build resilience into people. It's not just enough to love what you do. We need to have resilient people. And there's a link between this well-being and resilience, and I think creativity and innovation, what we were talking about before. I don't think we can have one or the other. They come almost like yin and yang, side by side. So how do we make sure that we can, as business leaders perhaps, and some of the people will be running businesses that are listening to this, it's about how do you create the conditions for your people to be successful and to be flourishing in some ways. And that, ironically, is not just measured by the number of hours you work in a day, and that makes you more successful or not successful. I find now, I'm living in the mountains at the moment in the Alps. If I've got a big problem to do in business, I might start with a walk and go out and walk in nature, and then the best ideas will probably come to me. It's the kind of, it's not the conventional way of thinking, but I think we're not designed to be sitting at desks all day with our heads down. Human species were growing up in the outdoors, and we evolved in the outdoors, walking about. I think we need to do more of that to create healthy, happy environments.
Gib, I know that Alps is one of the cleanest places in the world, with the cleanest air and cleanest nature. And I'm speaking, unfortunately, from one of the dirtiest places in the world. Unfortunately, it's one of the most beautiful places. It's called Almaty. And I recommend you to come here. And if you will come, Kazakhstan, I will be very happy to show you around. There are also beautiful mountains. But since the city is located in a, it's like a down place. It's all the air from the cars is going here. That's why a lot of people having cancer, they have asthma, they have bronchitis. So it's like thousands of these diseases connected with the lungs. And I know that you are, and ironically, we are selling cars, so of course, I'm always thinking what we should do to protect our karma, what we should do good for the city, for the place.
Sell electric cars, maybe.
Sorry?
Maybe you should start selling electric cars.
Yes, it's but it's it's the thing between government, between France, between Kazakhstan. We should definitely we should emphasize and make this petrol station recharges. It goes without saying, but also it goes without saying. It's a great idea. Thank you for that. It's like the simplest one and the best one. Besides that, that is really on the list. What do you think? What we can do as human, as an owners of small and medium businesses to stop this climate change, to stop this situation?
Yeah, I mean, people have been talking a lot about the climate crisis. There was the COP event back in Scotland. I was in Glasgow last month for some of that. And it's interesting that the word for crisis in Chinese, the symbols, there's two symbols actually. One is danger and one is opportunity. And together that makes crisis. And I think with climate change, there is definitely a danger. We see it. We're seeing the impacts of it very much, the health impacts, the environment impacts. But I do believe there's an opportunity for small businesses, for big businesses, to actually, whether it's renewables, but it's also so many things are going to change about the way we want to work and live, and how we are going to adapt to a climate that has already started to change to a certain extent. And I think that is a huge opportunity for businesses, for innovators. Again, back to this idea of finding the best ideas from within your people. So how do you find these new business opportunities that have a positive impact in society, but also are good for the bottom line in your business? Whether it's a small business or a big business, doesn't matter.
You were talking about in one of your interviews about Kenya and about one guy who brought this small machine that all people in Kenya had access to the bank accounts, which is
M-Pesa. Yes, it was the subsidiary of Vodafone in in Kenya. It's quite a well-known case study about mobile banking. This was the home of mobile banking. The birth of mobile banking was in Kenya. It wasn't in Switzerland where I've been living. And it came from the idea of an entrepreneur, of an innovator, who just had this idea that he saw people swapping airtime minutes as an alternative currency. I'll give you so many minutes for a product in the market or something. And he thought maybe the mobile phone could be used as a bank account. And that bubbled up eventually as an innovation within Vodafone. And now we see what's happened with mobile banking. It's transformed the Kenyan economy, but also much more widely around the world. So that's one of my favorite examples of a social entrepreneur. It was not corporate responsibility. It wasn't philanthropy. It was a massive business opportunity, good for the bottom line, but also has been fantastic in terms of financial inclusion in Africa and beyond.
Gib, what do you think, for you personally, what do you consider your biggest achievement at the moment?
My biggest achievement at the moment, it's only actually when I left Accenture. So after the Macedonia experience, I led a team, and it was very much a team effort to create this not-for-profit business, or not-for-loss business, I called it, within Accenture, a social enterprise, a small business within a big business. And I was very, very proud of where that got to. In 10 years from a standing start, we worked in 80 or 90 countries around the world, $250 million worth of services, thousands of Accenture staff working on salary reductions on the bottom line to have an impact with their business and technology skills. I'm out of the organization. I see how it's continuing to grow, and I get a lot of, I guess, vicarious pleasure out of watching that and pride. So that's something, but it was not done by, me alone. It's very much a team effort, as most of these things are. I don't believe anyone that says that they achieved something solely on their own.
Don't you miss that? Because this is also your baby, and I think you're very much attached to that idea and business.
Sometimes we have to move on, and the time came that it was the right thing for me to move on. And yes, I miss it. I miss my colleagues, but I'm very excited now about what I'm doing. I'm currently trying to create a business, what I call a business decelerator in Scotland, that's kind of flying in the face of conventional wisdom, where everybody's about faster and accelerating and bigger, more profitable. My sense is that the way that we're going to drive change is going to start by slowing down. So I'm bringing business people together with art and music and nature and improv theatre, and just creating this fusion, this creative right brain space for people and their ideas to flourish. And I'm converting a farm on this island where I grew up, and it's great fun. So I love that. But it's a new skin. We all have to sometimes lose one skin and grow a new skin, and this is what I'm focused on just now.
And my last question, I would like, since you are very good in changing your path, you are very adaptable. Like I'm a Pisces, fish, and I understand what you are doing. You're going with the water, with the flow, with what you feel is the right thing. But on the way, you're helping thousands, maybe millions, maybe billions of people by this thing. Maybe, God knows. God knows.
Maybe one.
Let it be
maybe
like
one person. If it's one person that changes significantly, that's maybe enough. The numbers maybe aren't as important as we think they are.
I agree with that. What you will recommend to hidden heroes, to people who are in this situation of constant change? They're not feeling comfortable. For them, some people, they are very good, like tigers or lions. Okay, it's changing, but I'm a lion. But some people, when everything is changing, they feel I'm living in the time of earthquake, especially women, because women by nature, they want to have stability. They don't want to change every day their husband. They want to live with one person all their life and die in one day. That's what I was told by my grandmother. And by the way, how we were raised in Russia, by fairy tales. As well as you don't want to change your house every day. You don't want to change your friends every day, because we like stability. It should be stable, nice, and beautiful. And the thing of constant change of something, for me, it sounds very, very difficult. I have to do it because there is risk everywhere. But what you will recommend to hidden heroes? How to be not hidden?
Maybe you want to be hidden in some ways, but to your point on what women want, I'm old enough now to learn that I wouldn't possibly suggest that all women want the same things or give advice like that. I think whether you're a hidden hero or a man or a woman, I just think you have to be yourself and be honest with yourself. And I think there's so many distractions and so many stuff out there. So we're so busy doing that we just don't have enough opportunity just to be who we are. We're human beings. We're not human doings after all. So for whoever we are, I think finding the space, building the space into our busy lives for some quiet time, to connect to something, deeper and get away from all this distraction, whether it's meditation. I started in the lockdown doing meditation. I'd never managed before. And now I do it every day, a bit of yoga. These are things that help us connect to something deeper and help us kind of be more robust when all these winds and noise is starting to sort of bash against us. That would be my recommendation. And yeah, then you can maybe be true to who you are and find out what you're actually meant to be doing on this planet.
I would like to thank you very much, to say that Hidden Hero is happy to support you. I will send you the link to all my movies. There are a lot of movies about Olympic champions and the secret why they became champions. A lot of films about women, of course. It's called Harem, how four wives are living together and how to survive in that situation. And we will be very happy also to support you, Gib, in what you are doing, because I think that what you are doing is quite unique for this planet. And
Thank you very
let
much.
me find your new thing, because you were very successful with these essential development partnerships. Since you now on your new path, let this path be as successful in your own way. So I wish you really all
Fingers
success.
crossed. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you very
thank you
much.
so much. Thank you. Danke schön.